For many people, Friday the 13th brings the feeling of impending misfortune. But our Miss Brooks, who teaches at Madison High School, doesn't believe in such superstitions.
No, indeed. I don't need any special day to be unlucky. In fact, ladders shy away when I come near them, and every mirror in the house has 7 years bad luck, 'cause I'm always broke. Last Friday was no exception. Have you ever opened your eyes in the morning and felt that everything was going to go wrong that day, and then realized that you'd already made your first mistake by opening your eyes? Well, that's how I felt on Friday when Mrs. Davis entered my room.
Up you go, Connie. Up, up, rise and shine.
I'm up, Mrs. Davis.
Up we go, out of the sack and hit the deck.
I'm hitting.
When you're down and out, lift up your head and shout, it's gonna be a great day.
Well, I'll try it. It's gonna be a great day. It's gonna be nothing and I know it.
Oh, Connie, I'm surprised at you. You're not nervous about it being Friday the 13th, are you?
Certainly not, Mrs. Davis.
Well, I am. And so is Minerva.
Minerva? You mean the cat?
Yes, especially after what happened this morning.
What was that?
A black dog crossed her path. Now, cheer up, Connie. You'll feel better when you've got a nice breakfast under your belt.
Breakfast. Yes, that should help.
Then you'll go off to school. You'll see your pupils and your friends and fellow faculty.
Yes, that'll be nice.
And that principal, Mr. Conklin.
There goes wanting breakfast. Mrs. Davis, I think you have psychoanalyzed me. The reason I never want to get up in the morning is I'm afraid to face Mr. Conklin.
You may not believe this, Connie, but he's probably just as afraid to face you. It's like my brother's Victor's experience. You remember me talking about Victor, don't you? The absent-minded one.
Yes, I remember him, Mrs. Davis.
Of course, he's not as absent-minded as my sister Angela. She's really a case.
Yes, I know. But about your brother?
My brother?
Victor.
Victor? What about Victor?
You started to tell me about his experience.
Oh, yes. He's had a lot of experience. Well, I'll go fix breakfast now.
Please, Mrs. Davis, drop the other shoe. You know, your brother Victor had an experience that had something to do with my being afraid to face Mr. Conklin.
Oh, that's right. Well, Victor was terribly afraid of a certain dog in his neighborhood and would bite him if he ever got too close to him. But the psychiatrist took care of Victor, explaining that the dog was probably afraid that Victor was going to kick him.
And
after a couple of months with the psychiatrist, my brother went right into that dog's yard and they stayed there together for over an hour.
Really? What did they do?
They just stood around biting and kicking each other. But a policeman came by and stopped it.
Yes, that was fortunate. Your brother probably couldn't have taken much more of that kicking. But Mrs. Davis, I'm afraid my trouble with Mr. Conklin isn't really psychological. Whenever we get together, little accidents keep occurring.
Accidents?
Yes. Ink spilled on his shoes, flower pots fall on him, and yesterday, while he was bawling me out for transferring a tiny little flower pot from my windowsill to his head, he broke his glasses.
Well, maybe you better just stay out of his way for a while, dear. Now, before you do anything else, you've got to get a snapshot today.
Snapshot?
Yes. Walter Denton called and said they're getting the yearbook ready and they need snaps of the faculty.
Oh.
Now, I brought in your album and we'll pick out a nice picture to give him.
Fine.
Now, let's see. There's a nice one of you, Connie.
You want to sit on the edge of the bed?
Oh, yes, I'll just sit on the edge of the bed, if I may. Here's a nice one of you, Connie. Connie? Oh, Connie, how did you get down there on the floor?
I just came down with the mattress. Mrs. Davis, this is the second time this bed has collapsed, and you've just got to do something about that.
I will, Connie. I'll see that you get lighter pillow slips. Now, you better get up and get dressed, and we can look over the album at the table.
All right, Mrs. Davis.
Watch those springs, Connie. They still have plenty of life in them. Connie? Connie, where are you now?
You were right about those springs, Mrs. Davis. I'm in the shower now.
Now, we'll just push the breakfast dishes to one side, there, and look through your album for a nice picture for the yearbook.
I haven't gone through this album in a long time.
Oh, look at this one of you, Connie. I love your hair that way, curling all over your head. Makes you look so youthful.
That's what Mother thought. She didn't cut it till I was 9 weeks old.
Dear little Connie, draped over that rug. What is it? Bearskin?
They certainly are. No, I don't think that would be the ideal picture for the yearbook, Mrs. Davis. Too dressy.
Oh, here's one. Taken at the beach. My, what a stunning bathing suit.
That's my French model bathing suit. It was taken at Lakeview Beach last summer.
And those sandals. Exquisite. Such a pretty design. That's all handwork in the front, isn't it?
Sort of. Those are Blue Jay corn plasters. I better get ready. Walter Denton and Stretch Snodgrass should be picking me up any minute.
Oh, they are such nice boys. But you know, Connie, I can't help but feel sorry for Stretch. He's a wonderful athlete, I know, but honestly, for a 16-year-old boy, he has the mind of an 8-year-old simpleton.
Oh, that isn't fair, Mrs. Davis. Stretch has every bit of mentality as a 16-year-old simpleton.
Well, somewhere along the line, that boy's mental development has been arrested.
Arrested? It's been sentenced and shot. Now, you put away that album.
Wait just a minute, Connie. Has Mr. Boynton ever seen you in this?
In my album?
No, in the French bathing suit you're wearing in this snapshot.
Why, no. I don't believe that bashful biologist has seen me in that.
Well, he should. That would take his eyes off his frogs for a hot minute. Let's take this picture out of the album so you can give it to the boys when they get here.
You must be joking, Mrs. Davis. If Mr. Conklin saw a picture like that in the yearbook, steam would actually shoot through the top of his head.
Oh, I don't mean the whole picture, Connie. I've got the scissors here to cut off your head. That's all they'll need. There you are, sweetheart. There's your head, Connie.
I've never felt more like a queen, Mrs. Davis. Now I can finish my coffee. Would you mind answering that, Mrs. Davis? I'll go get my hat and bag and put the finishing touches on my face.
Very well, Connie.
Hi, Mrs.
Hi, Mrs. Davis.
Hello, Walter. Stretch. Come in, come in. Miss Brooks will be with you in a minute. She's just putting her face on.
Oh, we're in no hurry. Say, what's that picture you got in your hand?
Oh, this? This is just Miss Brooks.
Gosh, now I know what you meant when you said she was putting on her face.
Where's her head, Mrs. Davis?
Her head? Oh, she probably put it in her purse.
Oh. Her purse? How'd she get along without no head?
Well, coming from you, Stretch, a question like that could be very embarrassing. Apparently this picture's been torn, Mrs. Davis.
Naturally. You said you needed a snapshot of Miss Brooks's head for the year, Walter, so we split that part off for you.
Oh, I get it. But, Mrs. Davis, May we have the lower part of the snapshot too?
I don't see why not, Walter. When you get through with the yearbook, you can paste both parts together again.
Oh, gosh. If I may say so, Mrs. Brooks' figure sure looks good in a bathing suit.
Especially in that one, Walter. That's a French bathing suit.
Yeah. Well, how do you like that, Stretch?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know much French at all.
Well, I don't either, but in this case, what you gotta do is read between the lines.
Yeah. Hey, you want me to carry that snapshot for you, Walter?
No thanks, Stretch. It's not too heavy.
Well, if it isn't my two chauffeurs. Hello, boys.
Hi, Mrs. Brooks.
Yeah, we're using Stretch's car today on account of... I had a little trouble with my clutch.
What kind of trouble, Walter?
I lost it.
You lost your clutch?
Oh, yes, ma'am. But I'll find it right quick. It can't be much more than a block away from where the emergency brake fell out.
And that's probably just a stone's throw away from the motor. Oh, before I forget, there's a snapshot for the yearbook.
A snapshot of who? Oh, this is your head. Thanks, Miss Brooke.
We'd better get going.
Yes, it's getting late. Now remember what I told you, Connie. Be sure and invite Mr. Boynton to take you swimming soon so he can see you in that bathing suit.
Really, Mrs. Davis, if Mr. Boynton wants to take me swimming, he'll take me swimming. I'm certainly not going to do anything about suggesting it to him. Until lunchtime.
Well, we'd better step on it. We've still got to pick up Mr. Conklin on the way to school.
Mr. Conklin?
Yeah, Harriet called me and told me that her mother had to take their car downtown early this morning, and she was counting on me to pick 'em up.
But if I had known that, I would have gone to school on my pogo stick.
Me too. But we can't let Walter down now, Miss Brooks. Besides, Mr. Conklin isn't so bad. For all we know, he's just as nervous about us as we are of him.
Stretch, you're not related to Mrs. Davis's brother Victor, are you?
As our Miss Brooks and the boys are on their way to pick up Mr. Conklin, let's look in on Madison's beloved principal as he and his daughter Harriet are finishing breakfast.
Well, Daddy, how did you like your breakfast?
It was very adequate, Harriet. Now if you will hand me my hat, please.
Here you are, Daddy.
It's a brand new one, too. How do you like it, Harriet?
It isn't very colorful, is it, Daddy?
Very few black Hamburgs are, I suspect. This suit is also new. It's the latest thing. Black shark skin. Do you like it?
It's real chic, Daddy.
I fear this tie may be a trifle too loud with it, though. It's midnight blue. Do you think it's too loud, Harriet?
I can't hear a thing. I mean, it looks just fine, Daddy.
This is the outfit I had my picture taken in. The one that's pinned on the bulletin board. Inasmuch as you are the yearbook editor, I want you to have a good photo.
Thanks, Daddy. Walter will appreciate it, too.
Denton? What has he got to do with it?
Well, Daddy, he's the associate editor of the yearbook, and he's giving us a lift today.
Oh, he doesn't give me a lift. In fact, if I may borrow an expression from the undergraduate body, he brings me down. What you see in that boob is beyond me.
He isn't a boob, Daddy. Walter is the manager of the baseball team and the editor of the Madison Monitor, and, well, he's just an all-around...
He's an all-around...
Daddy!
All right. I won't say mine if you don't say yours.
After all, they had to get up earlier in the morning to stop for us after picking up Miss Brooks.
Miss Brooks? Will she be along?
Of course! Walter always takes her to school. What have you got against Miss Brooks?
Nothing at all, Harriet. At least nothing that some new shoes, new glasses, and a head free of a flower pot won't straighten out. I don't know what it is about that woman, but when she's in the vicinity, disaster rings in my bones. Oh no, today is Friday the 13th.
Oh, please, Daddy. You're exaggerating. Miss Brooks is probably just as nervous about facing you as you are about facing her.
I doubt it. I wish we could get to school some other way. If only it wasn't so late, we could... Oh well, they've lifted the Berlin blockade, so maybe there's hope for me yet.
Well, here's Mr. Conklin's house.
Is he still store at you, Walter?
Yeah, I just can't seem to put my finger on the reason. The way Mr. Conklin looks upon me with his,
Would repugnance do it?
Is that bad?
Very bad.
That'll do it. That's why I wrote this speech when I knew we were taking him to school.
A speech?
Yeah. So by the time we get to Madison, my future father-in-law and I will be buddies. Oh, before I honk the horn, I'd like you to hear this speech, Miss Brooks. It goes, Mr. Conklin, sir.
Excuse me, Walter, but Mr. Conklin, sir, and his daughter, Harriet, just came out onto the porch.
Well, they must have heard us pull up with those brakes.
She's leading him down the steps. Something must have happened to his glasses. Oh, right. Yeah, that was me.
Hello, Miss Brooks. Hi, boys.
Hey, Harriet.
Hi, Harriet.
How are you today, Mr. Conklin?
Very well. So far. Get in, Harriet.
Yes, Daddy. I'll sit up front with the boys.
And you can sit back here with me, Mr. Conklin. Here, I'll get the door for you.
Thank you.
May I say, sir, that is a lovely suit. Is it new?
Yes, it is, Miss Brooks. Brand new.
It's just your pocket, Mr. Conklin. I'll sew it up when we get into the school.
Mr. Conklin, sir?
Shut up, you boob. As Miss Brooks and company makes their way to school, let us pause a moment for what we do every episode. No, it's not an ad. It's our Not an Ad shout-out. Today's Not an Ad shout-out is hilarious and is totally because I've been binging her show over the last month or so. And it even helps that it shares a name with Miss Brooks' high school. That's right, if I didn't hide that enough, it's Madison on the Air. Madison on the Air is a fantastic comedy series about a modern-day woman zapped back into the realm of old-time radio shows. From Sherlock Holmes to The Shadow, and even The War of the Worlds. It's awesome, it's funny, and even the Madison Mad Facts bonus episodes are just a hoot. So if you enjoy our adaptations, then you'll definitely enjoy the antics of Madison. So head over to MadisonOnTheAir.com or Apple Podcasts to check them out. And hey, if you do dig their show, then leave a 5-star review and tell them you heard of them because of us. Or if you hear of us because of them, let us know that. And if you'd like to suggest a Not an Ad shout-out, then please let us know on our Twitter, Facebook, or wherever we have a social media account anymore. We even have a subreddit now. But now that we've talked your ear off, let us return to our Miss Brooks as she finally can start her school day. Take it away, Miss Brooks.
Well, I fixed Mr. Conklin's suit and unruffled his feathers when we got to school, and by lunchtime I was beginning to lose some of my feeling of foreboding, especially since Mr. Boynton had invited me to the cafeteria for lunch. Remembering Mrs. Davis's advice, I thought I'd try and get Mr. Boynton to ask me out swimming so I could show off my French bathing suit. I was extremely subtle about it. Did you enjoy your lunch, Mr. Boynton?
Oh, very much so, Miss Brooks.
Me too. Let's go for a swim.
Isn't it a little early for that sort of thing?
Well, we could wait till after school, silly. It'll be later by then.
I mean, early in the year. It's still quite brisk out.
Once you're in the water, it'll be fine, especially up at Lakeview Beach. That's only an hour's drive from here.
No, I'm afraid I don't care much for beaches, Miss Brooks. They're bad for my sinus trouble.
Oh,
But I like swimming in pools, though.
wonderful, Mr. Boynton. Let's go for a swim in your pool, then.
Well, I'm afraid that's impossible, Miss Brooks. My pool's at the YMCA.
I guess I might alter their routine a little if I were to walk in there. Oh, I know what we might do. Work on your lawn for a while.
I don't have a lawn. I live in an apartment. All I've got is a window box.
Perfect. That's what we'll do.
What's what we'll do?
We'll put on our bathing suits and water your window box.
Why do we have to be in bathing suits to do that?
All right, fine. You wear what you want to wear, and I'll wear what I want.
I'm afraid I won't be free this afternoon anyhow, Miss Brooks. You see, I've been searching high and low for another frog like my pet, McDougal. He's a Leptodactylus pentodactylus, you know.
That's obvious.
I can't seem to find one anywhere. None of the laboratory supply houses handle them, and, well, I've got to get one for an experiment.
If I bump into one, I'll give you a buzz. Now, if you'll excuse me, Mr. Boynton, I'm going over to the dessert counter. It's getting pretty crowded in here.
Well, is there something I can get for you, Miss Brooks?
No, I rather enjoy the exercise. I can still get a good post position right on the rail. See you in a few minutes.
Oof.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry, sir. It was all my fault.
Yes, it was, Miss Brooks.
Mr. Conklin, I didn't recognize you. You've got new glasses on.
I wish you had them on.
Sit down, Mr. Conklin. I'll go and replace everything you had on your tray. Now, what can I get you?
Suppose we start with some nice split pea soup.
Split pea soup. Excellent choice, sir. About how much?
About as much as I now have in my vest pocket. Miss Brooks, after you've served me, and before you go back to your classroom, stop at the bulletin board, will you?
The bulletin board, sir?
Yes, there's a picture of me on it, and I'd like you to see just how this suit looked before I met you.
There. That'll teach him to call me a boob.
That sure looks funny, Walter. Miss Brooks in a bathing suit with Mr. Conklin's head nailed on the shoulders. This won't get Miss Brooks in trouble, will it?
How could she get in trouble? That could be anyone's legs.
Anybody but Mr. Conklin's, anyhow.
You'd be surprised. Now let's get out of here, Stretch. Somebody's coming down the hall.
Okay, but I'd sure like to see Mr. Conklin's face when he spots this new picture.
Well, here's the bulletin board, Mr. Boynton. I'll just, do you see what I see?
Yes, I think so, Miss Brooks. Is that the suit that Mr. Conklin wanted you to see him in?
That happens to be me, Mr. Boynton. It was taken at Lakeview Beach.
You? That must be a pretty old snapshot. Frankly, I do like you better without the mustache.
Thank you. I'm a lot less bald now, too. Those darn kids must have put my picture over Mr. Conklin's for the rib. But if he finds out this is my picture, he'll take my head off permanently.
Maybe we will have to drive up to Lakeview Beach this afternoon. I mean, first, I had better get this picture down, Miss Brooks. Whew. They didn't even use thumbtacks. These are real nails. And they're hammered all the way in.
Oh, I'd better go find a hammer to pick them out with. Come on, Mr. Boynton. The keys to the supply room are in Mr. Conklin's office.
Well, here's the door, Miss Brooks. I'd better knock.
Oh, don't bother. Mr. Conklin may still be at lunch. You wait here and I'll sneak in and get the keys.
Oof. How do you do?
I was just coming in, Mr. Conklin.
And I was just going out, Miss Brooks.
I thought you were still in the cafeteria, sir.
I wish I was. Now, just a moment. Gaze upon me. It will be evident, even to you, that by banging the door into my face, you have now broken my glasses. The regrettable fact remains, however, that even without my glasses, I can still see you.
I just wanted to get a hammer, Mr. Conklin.
You've done a splendid job without a hammer, Miss Brooks. Call me a foolish dreamer, if you will, but somehow I had hoped that today's pocket-ripping and soup-spilling incidents would appease your voracious appetite for mayhem. But no, for a second time in a week, you have shattered my glasses.
Please, Mr. Conklin, I can't stand this war of nerves. If you hold me responsible for those accidents, why are you so restrained? You've got high blood pressure. Use it. Give me a good, loud dressing down and get it out of your system.
Miss Brooks, such crude behavior would be unbecoming to the principal of a high school. To lose control in the presence of others is to betray ill breeding. Now then, would you be good enough to excuse me for a moment while I walk over to the closet?
Of course, Mr. Conklin.
Thank you. I feel much better now. And here, there is a hammer in the closet. You may use it, Miss Brooks.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Conklin. I'll just take this and... Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, Mr. Conklin. I didn't mean to drop the hammer on your foot.
That's all right. I have another foot.
Oh, Miss Brooks, could I see you for a minute?
Stretch, school's been out for all of 10 seconds. Why are you loitering in the halls?
I've been looking for you, Miss Brooks. I even asked Mr. Conklin if he knew where you were. But a funny thing, the minute I mentioned your name, he ran into the closet.
Yes, I drive a lot of men into the closet.
But why'd he do that?
Quiet a second, Stretch. That's why. Now, what is it you wanted to see me for, Stretch?
Well, Harriet Conklin wanted a full-figure picture of you for the yearbook, so I pasted your head to the lower part of the picture we took off the bulletin board.
I've never had a full-figure picture in the yearbook. I guess Friday the 13th isn't so unlucky after all. Unless you happen to be Mr. Conklin.
Oh, there you are, Miss Brooks. Isn't it terrible?
Isn't what terrible, Walter?
Harriet Conklin just got the proofs back for the yearbook, but look at the snapshot section. Look here where it says, "This is our Miss Brooks."
Okay, let me see. Oh no! Stretch! You pasted the wrong parts together! This is the picture of my face attached to a blubbery body wearing a black sharkskin suit.
Gee, maybe there is something to Friday the 13th.
What an awful break, Miss Brooks. Every teacher and student in Madison is going to see this. You'll be the laughingstock of the whole school.
Gosh, I wouldn't blame you if you busted out crying.
Not me, boys. To lose control in the presence of others is to betray ill breeding. Would you excuse me a moment?
Miss Brooks, what are you doing here?
I just need to borrow the closet. So it was a trying day for sure. But it looked to end a little better than it began when Mr. Boynton grabbed me by the arm while we were leaving school and said,
Let's hurry, Miss Brooks. I'd like to get to Lakeview Beach while the sun's out.
Fine by me, Mr. Boynton, but let's stop at my place so I can pick up my bathing suit.
Oh, you won't be needing a bathing suit, Miss Brooks.
Oh, really? I'm sure we know the answer, but why wouldn't I be needing my bathing suit?
Because of that photo on the bulletin board. We need to go exactly where it was taken.
What? Why?
I noticed in the snapshot that there was a leptodactyl pentadactylus frog right near your left foot.
If you don't mind, Mr. Boynton, I'd still like to stop and pick up that bathing suit.
For what?
If it fits the frog, you two can go steady.
Oh, we're sure that one day Miss Brooks and Mr. Boynton will be so very happy together. But sadly, that's the end of the episode. Retrostatic Radio will be returning to Madison High School on October 3rd with The Halloween Party, or during our summer hiatus if any commissions come through. But if you do need more Our Miss Brooks, we have several episodes in our back catalog, like Puppy Love or April Fool's Day. However, in 2 weeks, Retrostatic Radio continues the comedy as we take pleasure in another round at Duffy's Tavern, this time with Let's Marry Billy Burke. Yes, it's as silly as ever, complete with another fun impression from Megan as Billy Burke. Now, if you can't wait 2 weeks to hear that show, next week the table read rehearsal for Let's Marry Billy Burke will be up on Ko-fi for one-time and monthly subscribers both. Now, if you can't wait 2 weeks to hear that, next week the table read rehearsal for Let's Marry Billy Burke will be up on Ko-fi for one-time and monthly supporters both. If you do want to hear the giggle-filled rehearsal for Our Miss Brooks, though, that is up now on Ko-fi. Yes, you too can hear us become 12-year-olds hearing the word boob and me not being able to say scientific names. I really wish it was the first time. We also have trailers debuting the same week as the table reads, so check those out on our social medias. And we have been uploading them to the main channel, so you've probably already started listening to them. And hey, don't forget that we also have an archive of our episodes up on YouTube, as well as shorts put together by our fantastic social media coordinator, Dawn the Squishy Fawn, and the gal with the thumbs, Megan Klodnicki. Oh, and we did just do an Instagram live of us playing the vocal card game Utter Nonsense, which is up on our YouTube as well. And of course, if you enjoyed the show, please like, share, subscribe, and giving 5-star reviews wherever you listen, because engagement helps us grow and informs what we show. And also, please check out Killing 15 Minutes, a True Crimes Quickie podcast, for some hilarity as well as learning a little bit about real-life murderers and serial killers. Almost informative, criminally silly. I'm Arthur Carey, and this concludes our broadcast day. Good night, and God bless.
You're watching Retrostatic Radio.